Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors and Stone Creek Hound Supply. Be sure to check them out for all your hound hunting needs. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game.
Hey guys and girls, this is Ronnie Snedegar out of Maxwellton, West Virginia, Greenbrier County in the south corner of West Virginia. I own Pumpkin Center Kennels, and no, if you look on a map, you won't find the Pumpkin Center, and there is no kennels in what we call Pumpkin Center. That's just a place where I grew up as a teenager. I learned a lot about life, and that's where I formed most of my bad habits. Still my favorite place to hunt. And according to my kids, I've got 4 kids. There, 3 of them are geniuses, went through college and PhDs and all this. And they all tell me that they have to apologize to their friends and explain before they come and introduce them to me. So I'll go ahead and apologize to you people now, because some of what I say may go against what's proper, the correct way to do things, but it works for me.
That's all that matters.
We'll start in the late 70s, not being from a tree dog family, nor the background. We had some beagles and what have you, but I loved hunting and shooting. And I heard my step-grandfather talking about an Irish setter that had strayed into his house, and that dog would walk through the woods with him, and he was treeing squirrels. And I'm like, what? Treeing squirrels? He said, yeah. He said, that thing out there finding squirrels, looking up, barking, treeing them. I said, through another like crazy. I'm like, oh, that's got to be something fun there. Another. So that was kind of my introduction into squirrel dogs. I was 14 years old and had a girlfriend at the time, and her family had some old mixed up mutt dogs. And I was gifted a Norwegian and rattlesnake crossed that were named Silver.
Hang on. We got to back up right there. You said so Norwegian.
I didn't think you knew what a rattlesnake was.
Oh, I know what a rattlesnake is, but a Norwegian elk hound. I'm guessing you said Norwegian, and a rattlesnake. A rattlesnake cur, right?
Yep.
So why don't you explain what a rattlesnake cur is? Because I know what it is.
Okay, we called back in the day, and I ended up with all of them because nobody else wanted the crazy things. We called a rattlesnake dog about any cur that was spotted. Mm-hmm. Most of them had kind of a bluish tint to their fur and had darker spots on them. And most of them had at least one wild-looking eye. Some of them had 2 wild eyes.
Okay.
And they were actually pretty high-strung dogs, and a little bit harder to handle than the other dogs. And a lot of the guys that was up the purebreds, the black and tans, and the red bones, and the blue ticks all back then, they didn't really want anything to do with the rattlesnake because they just was a different type of dog altogether.
Yeah.
And I didn't know nothing about him when I was gifted this Norwegian rattlesnake cross. But he was kind of silver looking, so we named him Silver. And that dude, from early on, he was a treeing fool. He loved to tree.
Yeah.
He was trashy as could be. I had a name tag on him, and people would call me. We'd run deer 5 miles, and I'd have to go get them and throw them in the trunk car and bring them home. He'd tree bobcats, grouse, turkeys, coons, squirrels, chipmunks. It didn't make any difference. He was going to tree.
Sounds like a good meat dog.
Oh, he was a critter getter for sure. He loved to get critters. My uncle was doing a water race field trial thing with coon dogs. Mm-hmm. He said, you ought to bring that dog over here and we'll get him in a treeing contest. First treeing contest that I put him in, moved a coon up the tree, and that dog sat down and started barking and barked 133 barks a minute.
Nice.
I mean, steady barking.
Yeah.
He's just one of those crazy things. Anyway, they had him for a while, and for whatever reason, he ended up dying on me.
Well, before we move away from him, right before we started recording, I mentioned that I've gotten a couple dogs from down your way. I'm a leopard cur guy, and that's how I know what a rattlesnake cur is I've been told
by some of the older leopard guys that, back in the day, before the leopard curs were really a thing, that, these leopard colored cur dogs, and then down in the mountains, they called them rattlesnake curs.
Well, and now the dogs that I see, and most of them down in Louisiana, this and that resemble my old dogs, are called Catahoula.
Yep, Catahoulas.
Curs. And I think that all come out of rattlesnakes. Like I said, anything that we got that was spotted or striped and had wild eyes is a rattlesnake.
Okay.
So that's what it was. So
that's cool.
He passed away, and I found another rattlesnake that was gifted me. He was a squirrel and coon dog deluxe, and he wasn't trashy. We named him Jake, and he got to be very well known just through people talking. This was way before social media. This was back in the late 70s. Just everybody knew about Jake. Everybody wanted to come in and hunt with Jake. Jake would be a squirrel, and he had timbered 200 yards down in the holler and still be underneath it. But everybody said you got to have 2 or 3 people to hunt with that Jake dog, because he'll run you crazy at them squirrels. And he would, when you got to a tree that had the squirrel, as soon as you shot, he was gone looking for another one. He didn't care whether the squirrel hit the ground or not. He was going to find another squirrel. So then in 1982, I had a little bit of issues with a bride, and we was going to divorce. Now, that word divorce, it will come up often here.
Okay.
So, and I had that dog and a female named Freckles that was a rattlesnake, and another little dog, and I'd been offered some pretty good money for them for back in the day through another, and I wouldn't take it. She was going to look after my dogs until I found a place to take them and this and that, and evidently she got with sisters and friends and this and that, and realized that since I had got the dogs while I was with her, that half the money was going to be her money. So at which time I called my buddies I'd hunted with, and I said, look, be at my house Sunday, 3 o'clock, bring your truck. And all the dogs left there.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no money. But the money wasn't important to me, especially half the money wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
So that it is more important that my dogs went to people that I wanted them to go to.
Exactly.
So at that point, I moved up to Cleveland, Ohio with a new lady for 4 or 5 years around the area, working mechanics, this and that. Everything was good through that, and was building a new home down in West Virginia while I was up there sending money back, building a new home. Moved back to Greenbrier County in 1986 with a new baby. Had kids going on work. I was deer hunting crazy, archery crazy. Didn't get another dog until 1996.
Okay, so you took a pretty good break in there.
Yeah, there was a big break in there with this life thing going on.
I understand.
So I got a guy down at Fairleigh, West Virginia, had some trim Tennessee Brennels that I'd never heard of. And he heard that I was back in town through my uncle, this and that, and he gave me a trim Tennessee Brennel puppy and I named him Skip. The Skip was an early starter, and it wasn't any time at all, and he was really well known. I mean, a great dog. Through that, squirrels, coons, run bobcat, they always jumped out of a tree before we get a shot at them back in the day. And he'd treat the turkeys that he busted up if they didn't all run off with them. If they all did fly off on him, he just a good all-around dog that everybody loved to hunt with. And people would come and borrow him to go hunting through that when I was busy with life. So he got a lot of time and a lot of hunting put in. So then this dreaded thing again in 2000 come in, divorce again.
Man.
And I got a new bride. And the new bride come with a house that needed renovated, roofs, floors. She liked flowers. We had a big yard. I had step kids. I had 4 levels of ball. We bought a motorcycle. Just crazy. So I didn't get to hunt the dog very much.
Yeah.
And so Skip went on his way. was without a tree dog again for quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, then she decided that maybe this wasn't for her, so there come the divorce again. And I bought a new house, and I had a new job, and I was still biking, and I got a bride that hadn't been around a whole lot as far as a lot of what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the motorcycle and all, and we spent a great deal of time riding motorcycles, stuff, Chillicothe and Myrtle Beach and Daytona and all this kind of stuff. But one of the guys that had got one of my dogs early years was Ace Altizer. And I run into Ace and told him, hey, look, I'm probably ready for another dog to walk around in the woods with if anything comes up. And he was telling me about a West Siberian Lackey that he had named Ziegler.
Okay.
And I'd never heard of West Siberian Lackey. I had no idea what he was.
Yeah.
But I liked the sound of it.
Okay.
So a few months later, in July, I was at a festival, sitting in the chair I always sat, and his wife come dragging him over to me. He said, look, you need to be at my house tomorrow at 3 o'clock, bring your truck. I'm like, that sounds familiar. So I go to his house at 3 o'clock, and he had a killer cur that had came in heat and got in the pen with Ziegler, the West Siberian Lackey.
Yeah.
And he had a litter of pups, 6 pups. 5 of them was blonde or brindle with flop ears like a cur.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was snow white, not another hair on her other than snow white. Pink nose, pointed ears.
Yeah.
And a furry coat. I'm like, well,
look very much like a Leica.
Yeah. I'm like, I guess I got to take the misfit. But I can't get her until Tuesday because I got to put a pin up for her. So I get the pin up and about up there Tuesday afternoon after work, and he lets her out of the pen, and she comes running over to me and gets up on my lap, and we talk a minute. I open the truck door, and I got a big wide console in that Ford F-150, and she jumps right up on the console and sets her like she owns it. Now, keep in mind, she'd never been in a truck. She'd never been out of anything other than the pen in the woods.
Yeah.
But she rode just absolutely perfect all the way down the road. And I brought her home, and the wife done told me that she can't come inside and be on the furniture and all this kind of stuff. Well, it's starting to storm. She said, go get that puppy. She can't stay out there. So I brought her in, and within 5 minutes, she was on the couch and on Debbie's lap, and Debbie petting her and loving on her. So she became a part of the family real quick.
Yeah.
And she was just going to be a companion to walk around in the woods with. And if she chased anything, that'd be great. If not, that'd be, didn't much matter.
Yeah.
About 4.5 months old, she is treeing squirrels just on her own out there treeing them. And it was fall of the year then. I said, well, I shoot them out. Then we going through the woods, and she was treed. And I walked up, and she had a grouse tree. I'm like, oh, okay. And throughout the next few weeks, just busting up turkeys and treeing squirrels. She treed some daytime coons.
Nice.
I took one of my buddies with me there that had a good cur dog, and we was through that in the spring of the year, and Annie was barking hard. She doesn't bark a whole lot unless she's looking straight at something, but she was just barking hard, and I told her, I'm like, man, she's looking at that one. That's got to be a little tree with all these leaves on. So we walk up over the hump and look, and he stops, and he says, that ain't no squirrel. Look, and she's got a bear up a tree. Now, this little 27-pound snow white dog standing there barking every breath, kicking leaves with her back feet. There's about a 250-pound bear up the tree, about 15 foot looking back at her.
There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, she was really something. And then I had to keep a wash station set up in the backyard. And I had to keep Dawn dishwashing liquid.
Oh, I'm sure.
And in a rag and a short piece of garden hose in my truck because she was getting skunked every time that would take her out at night. She'd find a skunk. She just so gamey, she would jump on anything with fur.
You like them gamey critter getters, don't you?
Yeah, well, she was sure enough a gamey critter getter. Believe me, she was crazy. But Earl had been doing a little bit of competition hunting, He said, "What she's doing?" He said, "You need to bring her to one of them hunts." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know nothing about them. And you guys got real dogs just now." He said, "Yeah." He said, "She'll be hard to crowd if you get somewhere with a squirrel." So I'm like, "Well, why not? We'll give it a try." So we drove up to Fairplains, West Virginia, up next to Ripley, through that Jackson County Squirrel Club, Coon Club, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And got her in a hunt, and she done respectable that first hunt. She didn't win it, but she put on a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys was impressed. One of them, she went way down over a steep hill and treed, and just treed on it. We looked at it with binoculars, this and that, and then he said, "Well, go get her." I'm like, "Go get her?" I just whooped a couple times. She come right on back up the hill to me. He said, "Well, that's a pretty good handle on a dog you don't have to go get."
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that you're supposed to have to go get them. I thought they're supposed to come to you when you call. I didn't know because I hadn't been around those guys.
Don't be using common sense.
Yeah, yeah. So then we went up to the Grand Nationals up in New Philly, Ohio.
Yep.
And I was very fortunate on the cast. I got led by Danielle Hanley. I think it is her last name. A real sweet girl lives up in Caldwell. Through that, and she had a feist named Darla.
Okay.
And Darla was pregnant at the time. She was pretty well pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up just on a 2-dog cast with Annie and Darla. And Danielle knew of a place with some woods around some cornfields. So we started going around through there, and Darla wasn't doing much. She was pretty big. She wasn't feeling it. Through another, and Annie, she was wide open, treeing squirrels left and right. And I remember Danielle saying, "I hope she does win this. I'd like to see something beside these curs win at one time."
Yeah.
So going through, and she treeing squirrels this and that, and didn't get any negatives, minus points, didn't get any circle points, and come in with 875 plus points.
Nice.
And the Grand National for that isn't a full elimination. It's just a one and done deal. So she won the Grand Nationals.
Okay.
Which was really cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, so then I get feeling real good about it. To another, and we have a little squirrel club down here for a while. Through that, and Brian Matthews had set up a hunt. So they come in, and I get cast out on one of the local hunts with a couple of ice dogs. Through that, they had intentionally asked not to have to hunt with the bigger dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, and they had kind of mentioned going out on a ice cast, which they do occasionally, I guess. Through that, I don't know whether they did or not, but he did this day. And Brian was like, "We ain't going to another price." They're like, "Well, what about that little white dog over there?" I keep in mind, she goes in the clubhouse, I throw my coat down, she lays on the floor, and you're going to step over her. She's not staying out there in the lot with the rest of the dogs. So he said, "Well, if you're sure you want to, you can hunt that little white dog." So they cast us out together, and we go out. And they got their dogs out on lead straps and pulling and this and that, and I open the truck door, and Annie steps out. And they're like, "Does she hunt?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, sometimes." To another, and I still got my lead strap in my pocket. To another, and they're like, "All right, well, we'll cut them loose." They got theirs by the collars and this and that, and Annie's standing there, and I'm like, they're like, 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm like, "All right, girl, go get you one." Just probably like 30 seconds, she was treed. And we go over there, and she got a big old fox squirrel. This place has a lot of little woodlots around pasture fields.
Okay.
Good for fox squirrels. So she treed, and other dogs didn't go in and back her up. So she got plus points. Turned them loose again. Their dogs went and did whatever they was doing. Annie went right on around there, and she treed again. And that continued for the whole hunt. And the whole hunt was done, and one of the dogs had a minus 125, and the other one didn't have any points at all. Annie had 1,000 plus points, no circle, no minus.
Nice.
Now, the funny part of that story is I was buying dog food at a place over in Summers County, and I stopped to get a bag of dog food a few days later, and the boy said, "You're from over at Greenboro County, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Up around Rennick?" I'm like, "Well, I'm up around Rennick a lot." He said, that dog you got, is she white? I'm like, yeah. He's like, did you hunt some feist the other day? I'm like, yeah, I had a hunt. He said, them boys was in here talking about that white dog, and they said, man, you can't even hunt with that white dog. She's on crack. She is on crack. You can't hunt with her. So I guess she's on crack, but I mean,
she's on crack. But you don't use a leash. You can tell her when to go. You can call her off a tree.
Oh yeah,
Lives in
you
the
can haul
house.
off a tree. You go, and when I'm done hunting, that I can say, Annie, we're done, and she's never any more than 30 foot away from you, all the way back to the truck.
Mm-hmm.
She's right there, but yeah, I mean, she just, and the guys that's hunted with her, and me and the caster, they're like, man, she is fast, because she'll look on the right, and she's darting through the woods, and you'll turn, and then she's on the left, darting through the woods. None of my dogs go deep, because I don't want them to go deep.
Yeah.
But she'll hunt out 200 yards, but she'll hunt on the right of you, on the left of you, behind you, in front of you, zigzagging, cutting up all the trees through that. But you'll never look on your Garmin and see her any further than 250 yards.
Okay.
300 max. Now, we went to game lands, and she did go 450 down there where it was flat.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then my wife isn't involved in Squirrel Doggen, but she was riding with me one day when I was road hunter. And we're going through there, and Annie was road hunting, and we treed 2 or 3 squirrels, this and that, and, just running the truck 5-6 miles an hour while she was hunting. And I wasn't paying much attention because I was used to what my wife said, what is wrong with Annie? I'm like, what? She said, she's running straight up the middle of the road, the old dirt road.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, have you looked at the ground, Debbie? She said, do what? I'm like, look how steep it is. And I mean, it was straight down off this side, straight up on this side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, she knows I'm not going down there or up there to get her when she trees. I look for no squirrel. I'm going to load her in the truck. And she knows if she don't take off down the road on a 15 miles an hour to get to the next land that we do hunt, then she's going to have to get in the truck. So, yeah, she's smart enough to know when it gets steep, she's not going because she knows I'm not going down there to get her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart.
Oh, yeah. And when you're road hunting her and she comes at an intersection, she'll stop. And when she makes eye contact with you, she'll go to the right or the left. She'll go, and I go, whoop! She turns and goes the other way. So that, I mean, you don't have to wonder where she went. She waits when there's an intersection, and she'll make sure that she goes the way that you want her to. So, another, yeah, so she's just been a special little dog.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So, I got her fixed right after I got her because I just wanted to, I've got a companion. I, didn't know she was going to turn out to be a squirrel dog.
Mm-hmm.
But in the first year, she made squirrel champion, and going through her second year, she made grand squirrel champion, and then she made super grand squirrel champion. Had a hunt was at that Cherry Gun Club up in Ohio or Pennsylvania. So she's a super grand.
Nice. It's quite the accomplishment.
But, yeah. I did hunt her in a really cool time. I drove all the way up into northern Ohio. Through that, I used to travel everywhere through another. And I was able to meet a couple of the guys that you spoke to on here before. I've listened to the podcast, being Joe Seaburn.
Okay, yeah.
And Dan Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
They was at that hunt, and we had a hunt Saturday, and Annie done respectable, but she didn't have her best day to another. And Dan and Ryan supposed to have a crow hunt in the morning. Why don't you just stay? We drove all the way up here, and I'm like, well, I don't have no plans. Why not? So Ryan called downtown to one of his buddies and got me hooked up with a room downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Little drive right to the door motel down there, $30 or whatever, to another. And the place we'd hunted was just old black swampy. flat land, a lot of water and stuff in it.
Okay.
Annie being Snow White, she was just black. So I go in and I give the man the money, and I get the keys to the room, and I walk over to the door through that and let Annie out of the truck, put the key in the motel room door, open the motel room door, turn around, and I can't find Annie. I'm like, where did she go? So I make her circle around her truck, and she's not there. I walk in the room, walk in the bathroom, and she's standing in the bathtub.
No, that's smart. Never been in that place?
Never been in it, but she's standing in the bathtub. So I always have her one of them blankets that you get for Christmas, $5 specials that you get for Christmas when you don't know what else to give them. So I had her blanket, and I throwed it on one of the beds in there. Went there and gave her a bath, scrubbed her up good, made her white again. Threw that, dried her off, and while I was rinsing the tub out, she goes in and stretches out on her blanket. She's sound asleep by the time that I get back in the room. We have a good night's sleep, and show up Sunday, and there's 5 or 6 dogs. Not very many, and Joe, and some of them's on one cast. I'm on the cast with Dan, and I think Mike Lovejoy.
Okay.
Through that, and we go hunting in a good-looking spot. Dan's looking at his dog on the garment. He's got Hawk. Hawk is super squirrel dog, super nice. And I think Mike had his maniac dog.
Okay, yeah.
And he looked at their garments, and the conversation was 800 yards, making a loop, 600 yards, making a loop. I'm like, wow, good for those guys. But as for old Ron, he can't have a squirrel dog that good because I'm old and fat. And those 800,000 dogs just don't get to me. But kudos to them guys that they can keep up with them.
Yeah.
But long story short, Annie started barking on me. Tree Annie. They're like, well, where's she at? 91 yards out here on the right. So we're out there and treed, and she's got the squirrel.
Nice.
So we close her up, and her dog's still making a big loop out there quite a ways. Now, it snowed a little bit that night through that, so we was hunting, just an inch to the snow through that, just a little bit. Annie, she's treed again. Tree Annie. So we walk over there, big old fox squirrel sitting right there, just big as life. Yep. Where she's hunting on the right, hunting on the left, and she's not going far, but she's searching the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm standing there, Annie's got little tiny feet, so that there's bigger dog tracks went by, 40 yards from the tree. So then I'm feeling real good.
Yeah.
Annie is finding squirrels that what I consider some of the top squirrel dogs in the nation, and their quest to get deep and lonely, away from these other dogs, they happen to miss a couple squirrels.
Yeah.
But Annie was able to get them, so we finished the hunt, and Annie got the tape pulled on her a few times because West Siberian lackeys, they don't put their feet on the tree. Mm-hmm. And Annie's one of those, she'll tree, and she backs off and looks and watches for the squirrel to timber, and if it timbers, she's going to chase it to another. And in the NSD, you're allowed like 45 feet, and throughout the day, I think she is 41 feet and 42 feet from the tree. But she won her cast that morning.
Yeah.
Through that, and I was just like, man, I can't believe. I know how good a dog Dan Pierce has got, and they are super nice dogs. Annie just had a great morning.
Yeah.
To another. So we're walking out of the woods, and I'd heard a comment. I said, she won that, but I don't like her style. And I can understand that because she's not a cur. She's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
As far as it goes, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, I don't know what style is, but she showed us squirrels. Mm-hmm. Then we get cast out, and there's only 2 dogs on the final cast, and it's Joe with Willow.
Okay. Joe's
very inexperienced too, just like me. We're both of us just don't know nothing. And Dan was her judge. So we get out there, and Joe's got Willow in the front seat of his car or back seat of the little car he's driving. Because he's new to all this stuff too, and Willow's new to another. And we had a great hunt. Willow, even at a young age, she's got the sweetest hound voice you'll ever hear. Mm-hmm. And she uses it when she's on a track. When she's treed, and I could listen to her, and she just got that blue tick thing going on where Annie's got kind of a high-pitched squeal.
Yeah.
But Annie found a squirrel or two, and then and Willa did, and the deciding squirrel, Annie's not much for backing up and treeing with another dog, she'll go in to check them. So Willow was treed on a big old oak tree through that, and she was locked in, and I mean, sounding pretty. And Annie was just right out past her treed through another. So as we're walking in, looking for Willow, we can see Annie's got a squirrel. So then we start pulling the tape, because if it's within 60 feet, then it's the same tree.
Yep.
And Willow treed well before Annie did.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 62 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, just barely out of range.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if it wasn't for that 2 feet, Willow would have won that for a lunch day. But it turned out that 2 feet let Annie win it, because I'm sure what she done is come in when Willow was treed. Then she seen that squirrel timber out, and she went with the squirrel.
Yeah.
But of course, we weren't in sight of it, and we don't know that she moved from the first tree. We didn't hear her treed until she's down there.
Mm-hmm.
So just a great hunt to meet them two sportsmen, Dan and Joe, through that, and started what I considered a good friendship. I got all the respect in the world for all the time and effort that Joe's put into Willow.
Oh,
and of course, you know, Dan's story with his bobcats and traveling and getting the squirrel grand slam and all that. I'm just in awe of the effort that they put in.
Yeah. No, they're both great guys, and you know, I've been lucky enough to meet both of them and hunt with both of them, and you know, I'm right there with you. They're both top notch. All right, everybody, don't skip. I know no one likes ads. I listen to podcasts too, but doing a giveaway. So hold on, listen to how you can win. So working with some sponsors and on getting a prize package. Also bringing on Corey Langford from Red Fern Hound Supply he's going to donate some stuff too. So going to get that finalized probably in the next week or two of exactly what that package is going to look like for you guys. But we're going to run a giveaway over the summer, okay? Basically, anybody that has already purchased a Tree Talkin' Time shirt via either the W website or my website, you are already entered. If you buy a shirt between now and the end of the summer, which, like I said, by next week I'll have exact plan of dates and what's in this package, you will be entered to win. This is I want to give back to the people that have helped support this podcast. This podcast really doesn't make a lot of money by any means. I know a lot of people think it does. The time, the effort, the equipment, in the end, it really doesn't. And so the people that have helped me and are willing to support this podcast and keep it going, I want to make sure that you guys are the ones that I'm giving back to. You know, I appreciate all listeners. Trust me, I really do. But there's those people that kind of take that next step, and that's why I want to give back to them. Be sure to check out treetalkin.com. So on the website there is the original just podcast logo shirt, which is a tree with two dogs on either side of it. That's still available in adult sizes and youth sizes. And then we have the breed shirts. Breed shirts include black and tan, blue tick, leopard, mountain cur, redbone, and walker. So that's what we currently offer. Probably going to increase that as time goes on and get some more breed shirts. Those are all photos that I've taken and then converted into designs on shirts. So check them out, treetalkin.com, for your chance to enter. All you have to do is buy a shirt. And if you bought a shirt at Autumn Oaks last year, I don't want to exclude you. I will probably, once we get the details of this giveaway kind of finalized, I will make a post. If you post a photo of you wearing Tree Talkin' Time or Tree Talkin' Media shirts or hats, that'll be a chance for you to win as well. So even if you did purchase on the website, that'll just be an extra entry. So be sure to find that post on Facebook and add a photo of you wearing your Tree Talkin' Time merch. So thank you.
Anyway, that's kind of the start with Annie.
Yeah.
And Annie was about a year old, and I should have stopped right there, but I was wanting another pup. So I've been looking for a trim Tennessee Brindle because I'm a skip dog.
Yeah.
And Don Bonset, I think you talked with him.
Yep.
He had a female that was going to have some pups, and ended up all the pups were stillborn or died, and I didn't get them. And then Terrence Bailiff had female that's having pups and everything was good. And she didn't eat the day before, and he checked on her that morning. She's good. He went to feed the cattle, come back, and her and the pups were dead.
Oh, jeez.
So I didn't get that Trans Tennessee Brindle. And at 11:30 one night, I got a call from Forrest Red down around Bradford, Virginia, down Blacksburg, down that way.
Okay.
Doing nothing. And he said, "Hey, I heard you're looking for a Trans Tennessee Brindle. I've got one male that somebody backed out on." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be down in the morning to get him. Give me directions."
Yeah.
I didn't ask about bloodline, didn't ask how much, didn't ask nothing. Just put a wad of money in my pocket and went down. And he ended up buying him for $250. Now that $250 is the total money that I've got in all my dogs. He's the only one that I paid anything for.
Nice.
But he is a great looking Trans Tennessee Brindle, dark Brindle, good square head, good ears, short, heavy muzzle. I mean, just super nice dog.
Mm-hmm.
To do that. I brought him home, got him in the woods the same day. I brought him home, walking through the woods, learning to get over the creeks and the rocks and this and that at 8 weeks old, through that, and spent an ungodly amount of time with him. And I remember the first squirrel that he treed. He was right at 5 months old, had him out by himself. National Forest going through the woods, and I seen a squirrel way out front of us go up a tree to another. And I kept walking that way. He hit the track, worked it 2 or 3 minutes, this and that. Went to the tree and jumped up on it and barked one time and come back off the tree and made another loop, probably 20 yards around the tree. And he decided the squirrel didn't leave and went back on the tree and started treeing. And I shot the squirrel out to him, and he had just turned 5 months old.
Nice.
And never slowed down from that. A lot of people say, well, a dog starts early, then they go through a lull that they don't do anything, and then they'll pick back up when they're, 11, 12, 14 months old, whatever. But he never quit.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to get my dogs the right time of the year that they're hitting 5, 6 months old when squirrel season's in.
That's real handy that's kind of just worked out for you.
Yeah. So then I had 2 dogs.
That's your rowdy dog, right?
Yep. That's the rowdy dog.
Yep.
And he's on the bigger side of Trans Tennessee Brindles, but he was really doing a good job. And my buddy was doing some coon hunting. Guys taking him out coon hunting. And Rowdy fell right in on the coons. String good on the coons. But through that, right with the older dogs, he'll me too. He don't mind backing up as far as it goes. And when I hunt him by himself, he's super. I mean, he handles good. He retrieves the squirrels, does everything he's supposed to be doing. And I got hunting him in some of the competition hunts through that. And sometimes I'd have somebody take a Annie out, this and that. Mm-hmm. But by the time Rowdy reached a year old, he was squirrel champion.
Man.
And then by the time the season ended, he was a grand squirrel champion in WTDA, in NCK. And he was such a good looker, and he'd jump up on the bench and park himself. I mean, you didn't have to move feet, just that. He'd park himself. So he was a grand bench champion in WTDA and NCK. And then UCK, which those dogs, he was allowed to register them in UKC starting in 2018. So I registered in UKC, and Jordan was having a UKC Little World Hunt down in Lexington, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I carried him down there, and he finished like 8th. I mean, he's respectable, but he got up on that bench, and there's a lot of dogs that are benching. I mean, we went through several rounds of the males and the females and this and that. He ended up getting best of show.
Nice.
He loved the bench. And then the following year, I took him up to the Grand Nationals up in Ohio, and I had another young man to hunt my, it was a WTDA World Hunt, and I had another young man to hunt my Annie dog, and she did like 14th or whatever, and Rowdy finished 7th or 8th, got beat by the dog that ended up being the world champion, a real nice dog that James Lambert had.
Okay.
But at that, Lily Moach set up a field trial and a tree thing and a bench thing, and this and that, and them dogs build up points as you do that. So was up there, and Rowdy ended up winning the field race, and he got first tree, and he got best of show, built up all kinds of points to where he was WTDA Dog of the Year 2018.
Impressive.
On points. Now, Annie was WTDA Dog of the Year 2017.
That's quite the accomplishment, back to back, 2 different dogs.
Yeah, so now I've got 2 dogs back to back that won that, and of course there's going to be haters everywhere, and I heard some conversation on the internet. Of course, if you hunt them in your local clubs, then you got this and you got that. So I went back. If you look on my wall in my office, I got a stick pin. I got a whole stack of receipts under that you get when you do these hunts, fourth place, third place, or whatever. It's not. And I went back and looked through them. In my local club, there's very few points earned at those. But to get Dog of the Year, you just got to be about 90% senile and sleep in tents and sleep in the trucks and cheap motels. I was traveling to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Virginia, all over every weekend with these dogs going to hunt, which is how to build the points. And I'm sure that I hunted with a lot better squirrel dogs than what mine, but I just put the effort in to go to these different hunts and ended up with Dog of the Year, not really aiming at that. Is just that I was obsessed with getting these dogs in these hunts, and they happened to score enough points to win the Dog of the Year. But I was glad to have it. I even had it embroidered on the back of one of my jackets. I was so proud of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely something to be proud of. I mean, like you said, it takes a lot of time, effort, and dedication to run the roads to be able to get that many points.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, you're eating junk food, you're sleeping in the front of your truck, you're taking tents with you, sleeping at up in New Philly. I had a tent set up in the yard, sleeping in a tent that night.
Yep.
Just crazy stuff. So, and like I said, as far as squirrel dogs go, there are better dogs out there, much better competition dogs than mine. But my dogs, what it takes to please me is a handle on a dog that I can handle them. I hardly ever take a leash with me when I go in the woods. And they hunt 200, 250 yards. They're not wearing you to death. And then if you get on somewhere that's really steep or rugged, then I can call them back. One boy was hunting with me and my dog was treeing, and I'm like, well, I'm going to stay on the tree. And we're standing there looking at the squirrel in a tree. I'm like, well, I don't know, just stay a while. So we walked away from the tree, out of sight, back to the truck, sat down on the tailgate, ate our lunch, walked back to the tree. The dogs are still treeing, and walked around there a good bit and finally shot the squirrel out to them. So they'll stay as long as they need to. But if I whoop them, because I can't whistle, if I whoop them and say in a hole, then it don't matter if they're looking at the squirrel, they'll come to me.
Yeah.
To another, and that's worked out.
I like that. I like having a good handle on a dog. Nothing makes me madder than you're done and you can't get the dog back.
Well, Marty Munns brought his slammer dog here to hunt an NSD hunt that we had, and we was cast with Annie. Through that, and Annie done good, and this and that, and he bragged on her how accurate she was. Through that, I mean, when she barks, she got a squirrel. She don't gamble. To another, but at the end of the hunt, we was out of time, and I asked Marty back when he was hunting, did I call Slammer in? You can't call Slammer in. He said, you got to wait till your trees and go get them off the tree. I'm like, wow, that's a heck of a squirrel dog, but it doesn't suit me down here in Greenbrier County in this rough terrain that I hunt in.
Yep.
So I've got to be able to call them to me. So then, most likely, it was too young to do it, but a guy over in Roanoke, Virginia, had a little bear dog named Daisy that came in the heat. She is a purebred Trent Tennessee Brindle.
Okay.
And he wanted to breed the Rowdy. Rowdy just barely a year old. And of course, everybody says don't do that, but I did. And the female had 8 pups. Every one of them was a male. And as it turned out, most of them had rescinded testicles. Freaks, but the vet said that the female was the reason for that, not reality, because we've made several more breedings and they've all been normal, 3 males and 3 females or whatever. But anyway, out of that first litter, my pick of that litter was a little red brindle, and I named him Hammer. So I brought Hammer in as Rowdy's son, and there again, I'm an idiot. So I spent ungodly amount of time in the woods with this little dog and hanging up hot dogs and getting in the tree and breaking them off a piece and doing drags and all this kind of stuff. Well, before he was 5 months old, he was treeing wild squirrels by himself.
Yeah.
But he's a jumper. He jumps, and if there's vines to pull, he sees me shake so many vines, he'll pull the vines trying to get the squirrel to move. And you can't bench him. He's a complete idiot. he he'll stand on his head before you can bench show him.
Yeah.
But he's a super nice little dog. He doesn't weigh but 24 pounds. So he's a small runt. His head's always on a pivot. He's the most entertaining dog you'll ever hunt with. When you got them all out together, he'll hit the first track as much as Annie does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gets out and hunts hard. We'll back up just a minute to Rowdy. Rowdy, I don't know whether he's so smart or he's so lazy. When he hunts with Annie and Hammer, he lays back and lets him go do all the hard work. Then he'll go help them. Now they may be out after 250 yards, and he'll tree one at 80 yards off to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not standing at your feet. He's hunting. He's just not out there like that.
Yeah.
But he'll go get himself. Now, when you hunt Rowdy by himself, he's out there at 200, 250 yards all the time. So he just knows from those other dogs there, he don't have to put all that energy in.
Mm-hmm.
But, yes. So Hammer also made squirrel champion for his year-old.
Man.
And only one of those hunts was at a local club here, and he was young. And Melissa from Maryland came down with her Joker dog.
Mm-hmm.
A nice little thing. The Joker was young. And we hunted the place. And Hammer showed us, I know two, I think he showed us 3 squirrels that day.
Okay.
And he was just like 7 months old to another. But he showed us enough to win that hunt. And I think that's the only hunt that he won at a local club. The rest of them, was at different clubs around.
Yeah.
To another. But he done well enough to do that. So now we get into the good part. So in 2019, I had all 3 dogs and going good. And Earl Spencer, a good buddy of mine, and myself was in the woods hunting. And I got a phone call asking would I be interested in the Squirrel Master Classic.
Yeah.
Which a good friend of mine had mentioned Larry Case, that I thought that was really something cool through that. So he got with him down there and I got an invite to bring Annie down to the Squirrel Master Classic.
Well, and for the listeners that might not know, why don't you explain what the Squirrel Master Classic is?
The Squirrel Master Classic is the brainchild of Jackie Bushman with Buckmasters, and it's held at Southern Sportsman's Lodge in Tyler, Alabama, and it goes like Gamo air rifle supplies air rifles to all the shooters, which includes a group of 4-H kids that has done well in their 4-H clubs and shooting sports, and they get an invite to come and be part of the Squirrel Master Classic. Well, there's 6 teams, like choice hunting with Ralph and Vicky, Real Tree, Bone Collector with Michael Waddell. Of course, Jackie's got his Buckmaster team. There's Buck Commander, and there's Raised Hunting there. So there's 6 teams that go out in the woods with squirrel dogs, taking 4-H kids out to kill squirrels. It's a kill hunt.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based on the number of squirrels that you kill. And then at that time, a portion of it was shooting skills once you got back to the lodge, shooting at different targets and different, some of it was walking through the woods, shooting at clays hanging on a tree, and some of it was shooting at balloons and what have you there at the yard. Of course, I'm interested in taking Annie down the tower.
Yeah.
So, and you got 2 dogs on each of the 6 teams. Well, they called me a couple, 3 weeks before I was supposed to go, and they're like, look, can you bring Rowdy with you? And I'm bringing Annie. They're like, yeah, we know, but the dog that you're supposed to hunt with is sick, Lyme disease, whatever, and you're going to need another dog on your team. I'm like, well, yeah, if I'm going to take another dog, I'm probably going to take Hammer, because, Hammer is more wide open than Rowdy.
Yeah.
And for that situation, I thought that may be a good choice. So they're like, yeah, whichever one, just bring another dog with. So we make the 11.5-hour drive down to Alabama on Monday, and we get down there. And now keep in mind, this old fat hillbilly from West Virginia is completely intimidating. You got Wade Hildebrand there with his Diesel dog that won it the year before, and Diesel known worldwide. Wade's breeding program and training program, with his Messiah dogs and all this stuff. He's top tier. And then Danny Williams from, I think he's from Illinois. He's got all these super high-powered price that he's been breeding the same line for 50 years. And he's won the Squirrel Master Classic a number of times. Just way outclassed.
Yeah.
And intimidated by what we're seeing. And they've got all these dogs tied up out there, and I tie my dogs up, and someone's looking at the dogs, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing this one's mommy is a 4-time world champion, and its granddaddy was this, and the granddaddy was that. When they get to my dogs, and they're like, well, I'm like, their mommy and daddy ain't never won nothing in their life. They're just old West Virginia farm dogs.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I've got a snow white, pointed ear, long nose, little white German Shepherd. And I've got a little tiny red striped dog.
A little mini plot.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, okay. So we go out on. So then on Tuesday morning, all the celebrities start coming in. The ones that's not there already. And here rolls in Michael Waddell, and T-Bone Turner, and Philip Culpepper, and Ralph and Vicky. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then Jackie's going to announce a special guest, and everybody's anticipating who it is, and none other than the greatest athlete to ever live, Bo Jackson, walks out on the porch. Played professional football and professional baseball the same year. A starter in both, excelled. The greatest player Auburn ever had in football. He's there with us to hunt.
There you go.
I'm just out of it. Just can't believe I'm getting to see all these people that I've seen on TV.
Oh, yeah.
More or less talking to them the same as you and I are talking here. These guys are smooth, down to earth, just country boys like us that have got a break doing something they love to do.
Exactly.
So when we go out on Tuesday, I get put with Team Realtree, which didn't have a very good record down there. But it worked out really good because my team consisted of Stephen McNally, Frank Daniel Thomas, Philip Culpepper, Brian Brown. This is a camera guys for Realtree. When you got camera guys, they're the athletes. Yeah. Carrying all that heavy equipment and this and that. So we get out in the woods, and I found out pretty quick, these guys are there seriously. They are running through the woods like workhorses, and I'm trying to keep up with them. And Annie's treed over here, and Hammer's treed over there. At one point, Annie treed on the left. Through that, she was only about 80 yards, and Hammer was treed about 110 yards in front of us. So we go over to Annie through that and get her squirrel, and coming back, and we'll get almost to Hammer, and somebody looks up in a tree, and the squirrel's going across. And then it's on, then everybody yelling and screaming and carrying on and shooting into the trees at the squirrel. And Hammer, he's a barking, and he'd look back at us, and he'd bark some more. He never come off the tree. Through that, and we got that squirrel, and then we went and got Hammer squirrel, and it was like that crazy all afternoon.
Nice.
So
sounds action packed, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it was action packed, and like I said, those Realtree guys, they were the athletes of the group. They just, every one of them must spend a lot of time in the gym. And here I am, I'm 60 years old, 270 pounds, and I'm trying to keep up with it. Plus, I'm the one that's got the squirrel vest that has all the squirrels out. Yeah. So as we get back to the camp, I told one of them, I'm like, look, guys, I'm stoked up. If I don't get no better, y'all are going to take my dogs anymore. Yeah. To another. And now, at the lodge is really, really nice. Great food, great kitchen, this and that. The handlers stay in a older structure out back, bunk beds. You can imagine 12 handlers in there and snoring and stacked up in bunk beds and one bathroom to share for the whole bunch, this and that. But I finally get enough sleep, I guess, through that. And sometime during the night, God intervened, and I got up the next morning, and I felt like I was 60 again. Everything was moving, everything was working like it was supposed to. And Philip had pulled a groin muscle. He was struggling a little bit. So as we're getting ready to go back out Wednesday, Wade Hildebrand, someone like, your dog's done pretty good yesterday. That's a lot of squirrels. I'm like, well, yeah, I thought he done pretty good. So we go out Wednesday morning, and we hunt. Now keep in mind that it had poured rain down there for a solid week before we got, and a lot of the choice land was flooded. Yeah. So we didn't get to hunt that. And the land we did get to hunt, we're still dealing with a lot of water in the drainages and stuff. So it was kind of sloppy hunting. But Annie and Hammer was getting it done. And I had got to the point that I got it in my head that we just need to kill a lot of squirrels, that we couldn't waste a lot of time looking for squirrels and this and that. So if we was walking in and I'd see Annie treed on a big old tree, the cube of binoculars, and it's got holes and stuff in it, then I just holler for her, come on. Come on, Annie, come on, let's go get on there. And she'd come off of it, and we'd go get an easier one. Rather than waste time on one that probably wasn't going to find.
Yeah.
So all that finished up on Wednesday. Through that, and McNally, there, he's real competitive. He's like, man, we need 2 more squirrels. He said, I can feel it. We need 2 more. Well, we got 3 more. 3 more. So we felt good and went back to the thing. And the real tree guys, they was just exceptional. They shot excellent in the shooting competition. And we get out there and they announce the scores and what's going on, this and that. And it's still, nobody really knows who got what.
Yeah.
So the call team real tree up, and our 4-H guy takes it up, and he starts throwing the squirrels out of the bag, and we got a fox squirrel, so that's 2 points. It's not goes through, and it's looking real good, and then they tally it all up, and they say, well, we got a new winner this year. We team real tree. Nice. And I mean, you can't even imagine how it felt for this old West Virginia boy, never thinking he'd even get the opportunity to go to a big expo somewhere and meet T-Bone or meet Michael or meet Jackie or Vicky and Ralph, but I'm here with all of them.
Yeah.
And we just won this thing.
That's pretty exciting, that's for sure.
And Michael Waddell, and after I was there 30 minutes first day, nobody called me Ron. Everybody called me West Virginia. In one of the videos, Michael Waddell standing beside me, he's got his hand held high, and he's pointing down at me there, and he said, you didn't know his name when he got here, but I bet you know his name now, West Virginia right here. And that was just a highlight. That was just, that it didn't even sink in until I got home.
Yeah.
Drove home after we loaded dogs up, 13 and a half hours snow and rain. Just blizzard coming in. My hands was numb from squeezing the stone wheel so hard, this and that. And my wife was leaving for work just as I got home, and I kind of met her on the porch there through that other. Of course, I done told her that we'd won.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep that in. And I said, I'm done.
Conkey's Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkey's motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkey's carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well.
She said, you're done. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. She said, what do you mean you're done? I'm like, I'm done with this squirrel competition. I'm like, we won the West Virginia State Championship. Now, there was a young lady named Callie that hunted Annie in the West Virginia State Championship where I hunted Rowdy. So she was 30 miles away from me, and she come back with the win for the West Virginia State Championship with Annie.
Okay.
But I said, we won the West Virginia State Championship. They're our Grand Nationals, Dog of the Year 2017, Dog of the Year 2018. And now we just won what Michael Waddell says is the Super Bowl, the College World Series.
Yeah.
We just won Squirrel Master Classic. I've got the trophy right here to show you. I'm like, I'm not going competition on anymore.
Yep.
So she said, well, now what do you do? I'm like, I really enjoyed taking all those kids out down at the Squirrel Master Classic. I'm like, now I'm going to focus my time on these kids. I'm going to take these kids out and take them out. So now it's a regular event for me once a year to go to Taylorsville, North Carolina, which was the Hands of a Sportsman hunt. Now they call it the Big Heart Hunt. Through that we drive down there and take kids out hunting. I go to Grayson, Kentucky, and take a group of kids out from a church group. I go to Lincoln County, West Virginia. The Greenbrier Hotel over here had West Virginia Hunting and Fishing Outdoor Expo. Annie and I spent 3 days inside the Greenbrier Hotel doing Squirrel Dog seminars.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 CDs made. I take 2 televisions with me, and I'm playing CDs on the display table there the whole time that we're not doing the seminars.
Yeah.
Through that to where there's Squirrel Dogs, and then, of course, I got Squirrel Master Classic on there. But we go up to National Hunting and Fishing Days and do Squirrel Dog demos for those folks. Our big sporting store, goods store here in Greenbrier County is Park Center Sporting Goods. They done a 30-minute TV commercial, which was myself and Annie and Rowdy and my granddaughter done a 30-minute deal talking about squirrel dogging and taking kids in the woods.
Nice.
Another, so, and then I get contacted by all and outdoor veterans to take the veterans out. Do that. So now it's just about taking these kids out. I'm a member of Greenbrier Valley Sportsman Alliance,
Mm-hmm.
which is based in Greenbrier County, Monroe County, Nicholas County, and Radnor Summers County. All the money raised through these banquets and all is given to the kids for the outdoor experiences. Like we just paid for the charter bus to take our Artisan Archery group down to the World Tournament in Daytona or Orlando on the archery group.
Wow.
Here the other day. We wrote that check. We give the Frankfurt Archery Group money to go to the state tournaments. Greenbrier West has an air gun team, but they're building it to have electric in it for the lights and all. We paid to put electric in it for them.
Nice.
Money raised through this Greenbrier Valley Sportsman Alliance. So October 19th this year, we're having a youth day, which we've got my 4 dogs, and then there's some other squirrel dogs coming in. I think Jay and some other bringing dogs down that we can take these kids out squirrel dogging, and we'll supply the guns and ammo and the safety, and we'll carry the guns until we get to the tree and load them and what have you.
Yeah.
But just the rewards from taking these kids out, as big as it was, bringing home the trophies and the plaques and all this kind of stuff, seeing these kids smile when those dogs bark and watching them go through the woods and all such as that. There's a lot of kids that I take out has been exposed to the hunting background, which involves going and sitting in a blind and watching a pile of corn for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It was dad saying, "Shh, be quiet, don't move, be still." And the turkey hunting, or if you're out what I call sniper squirrel hunting, they're sitting and waiting for them to move to another. But when we take these kids out, these squirrel dogs, man, they swinging on grapevines, they throwing rocks in the creek, they looking for lizards, they talking, they laughing, and when these dogs bark, they're like racehorses going through the woods. They want to be the first one to see that squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
Just a really, really big time to be able to get these kids out in the woods and make it all happen. And I got several that come to repeat, to go again and again, and that's what makes it all good.
No, I think that's great, and that's honestly one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on here is I think your mission to get more kids involved is such a cool mission. And you know, as a dad, I have kids, and that's kind of something I'm trying to do is get my kids involved. But it's easy for me to get my own kids involved. It's something else to go after all these other kids that don't have a dad that's involved in it, or like you said, you know, they might be a deer hunter, but they're not a squirrel hunter, and for kids, it's hard for them to pay attention and really get interested in deer hunting unless they have a little bit of and get lucky and have some success early. Sitting in that deer stand, like you said, for 8 hours watching a pile of corn, or
cold and bored and everything else.
Or if you live in a state like mine where you can't even bait, you're just sitting there watching a field.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to touch base on what I consider the biggest challenge in getting these kids involved. Is I can take the kids out, and I've got, a gun cabinet full of youth guns, and I keep a big supply of ammo and all this and that, and that's all well and fine when they can go with me. But when a kid wants to go hunting and they're from a non-hunting family, somebody needs to drive that kid to the woods. Somebody needs to go in the woods with them. Somebody needs to buy that gun. Somebody needs to buy that ammo. And if these kids don't have an uncle or a brother or a mom or a dad that can take them hunting, then they're left out. And I challenge the listeners to this podcast, the same as I challenge my friends. If you're a hunter, especially a tree dog hunter, squirrel dogs, seek these kids out. Put it out there on your social media. Put it out there in your church groups. Put it out there that you're available to take these kids out and introduce them into the outdoors and get them involved through that. Always recommend that a guardian, parent, mom, dad, whatever, comes with you to see the excitement on these kids and see what they're doing and see this and all, and maybe get the kids involved. Make yourself available. That these kids are this and that at these seminars that I do and these nice hunting and fishing days. And I set up at Frankfurt Autumn Fest and this and that. And I got all the pictures on these big signboards of all these kids involved with these dogs and holding, looking up in the trees and loving on my dogs and this and that, trying to get these kids to say, man, I'd like to do that. Yeah. If I see any glimmer of hope that they would like to do that, then believe me, they got an invite, and I'll do anything I can. I've never charged a penny anybody that I've ever taken hunting. There was a young lady in her 20s up in Weston, West Virginia, 3-hour drive from me, wanted to go squirrel dogging. I got up, go to Weston. We took her husband and the four-wheelers and went in the woods and treed squirrels, hammer tree one. She got to kill the very first squirrel. And she wasn't a kid. I mean, she was up in her middle to late 20s. But to see the excitement on that young lady's face when she killed a squirrel that the dogs was treed, I mean, it was just like Christmas to her.
Yeah.
Another group is the veterans. So that I do the following outdoors, but you think these guys would like to get a chance to go on a big elk safari hunt or big monster. Hey, they love to go squirrel dogging and listen to the squirrel dogs and the excitement of squirrels going through the tree and them shooting a half a box of shotgun shells out and going through the trees. They love that stuff.
Yeah, we all do.
Just challenge everybody to get other people involved, and there's always ways to do it. Like I said, at your church groups, go into the Sunday school room, the kids, the age group that you want to talk to them about squirrel dogging this night and get some kids involved to go with you. Just open the door for them, and you'll get some kids that want to be involved instead of on the video games or the couches or this or that. There'll be a few that says, yeah, let's do that. And then maybe they'll talk to their friends. The next time, and I've had as many as 14 kids in the woods.
Wow.
With probably 4 or 5 parents with them.
Yeah.
But, and these squirrel dogs, they don't care if there's 2 people or 20 people. They don't care.
Yep.
Not the same group, but we have a nut farmer down in Monroe County. He actually plants walnuts and grows walnut trees and grafts these together and this and that with the hopes of eventually having great walnut trees and hickory trees and oak trees and this and that. And just like the other farmers get crop damage permits for the bear and the deer, he gets crop damage permits for squirrels.
Okay.
And he gets me to come down and help him with that. Well, when this Chinese cootie thing was going on so big, all the festivals got shut down.
Yeah.
Wasn't no fairs, wasn't nothing. So this guy is a real natural type of guy, lives off the land, kind of laid back, old school thing. He got with a bunch of his friends from all over the East Coast that also are nut farmers, and he had a nuttin' to do festival, which involved a lot of mountain music and making apple butter and all this kind of stuff. But he called me and asked me to bring the squirrel dogs down and do a demo for those guys that when they went back to their areas, maybe they could contact squirrel hunters to come and help them get rid of the squirrels. I had 24 people in the woods.
There you go.
And we were flat treeing squirrels. And, there was kids throwing rocks in the creek and this and that, but there was adults, men and women, and they out there with me, all into what we was doing and loving it. And then we went back and he done a squirrel skinning demonstration and done the puppet thing, and we had a great food and put big pieces of pasteboard on the ground and is playing music and flat footing on the pasteboard on the yard. I mean, it's just a big good time, all brought together by Squirrel Doggen.
Who would have thought?
But yeah, in some people may be listening to this and thinks I want to get a squirrel dog and this and that, stuff like that. And I've got to be completely honest with you. I'm a complete idiot when it comes to a squirrel puppy. I mean, like my blackjack pup that you kind of been keeping up with. I've got scratched down some of the time I got in it, and I'm somewhere between 400 and 500 hours on that pup.
But see, that right there, all it takes is a good natural pup and time.
Yeah. When somebody like goes to an event and there's a bunch of squirrel dog puppies running around in the pen and they reach in the pocket and I buy them a squirrel dog, I'm just thinking, man, did you really just do that? Because in my mind, if you get a squirrel dog, if you get a squirrel puppy and you want to make it a squirrel dog, then you've got to figure on you're going to miss some birthday parties. You may not make all Johnny's Little League ball games. The family may have some dinners that you don't get to attend. You're going to have to sacrifice some of your family time, if you got family, whatever, to get that puppy in the woods when he's at the learning stage and make a squirrel dog out of him. And I tell people, if you can't commit to that kind of time, I'd rather see you not even get a dog. Find somebody that's got a dog and go with them, or search until you can go hunt with somebody that has a dog for sale that suits what you're looking for in a dog and buy that dog.
Yep.
Don't do the misjustice to a puppy that has potential by not giving it opportunity to bring that potential out.
You see it every day scrolling through Facebook. You know,
year
and a half old, 2 years old, never been messed with. You know,
never been messed with, green as grass.
Thought I was going to have time and don't.
Yeah, and I just cringe at that all the time. Don Bonset and some of us has a good friend in Illinois. He's named Kobe Welty, and he's got a good line of Trent Tennessee Brummels. Very good line. And we worked out a deal that I was going to take him some rowdy blood out of my choice from a breeding. And he was going to bring some of his Kobe blood. And we met in Lexington, Kentucky, 4-hour drive for each of us.
Okay.
So I drove and I got this puppy, 8 weeks old, and I brought it home. It's a beautiful pup. Kobe picked me out a real winner. I brought it home and I gifted it. I've never sold a pup ever to another. Every time that I get a choice pup out of the litter, other than Hammer, when I kept him, I gift it to somebody.
Yeah.
That's going to hunt it. So I gifted this pup to a young couple to another, and is going to hunt it. And I knew what potential it should have, being one of Kobe's pups to another. I checked with him a time or two, and 3 or 4 times this time. He said, I ain't had him out. He's in the kennel. I've been doing this, been doing whatever. I had a birthday party. We had this and that, stuff like that. So it finally got to where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go get that pup.
Yeah.
So I went and took that pup back. Now, he is about 6 months old by that point. And there was a guy up above Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Steve Bozer, that had a Stevens cur that he had just lost.
Okay.
And we kind of connected on social media. So I got with Steve, and I'm like, Steve, you looking for a pup? This is what I got. He's like, that really sounds good. And he said, I'm not sure I can afford. I'm like, you're not going to afford anything. I'm going to give you this puppy. Can you meet me somewhere? So we drove to Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Okay.
And met there tomorrow. And I gave this puppy to Steve. And he sends me pictures and updates now and then. And he doesn't squirrel hunt much, but he's a coon tree bull. He's killed a lot of coons with this pup that I got back named Rebel.
Yeah.
To another. But, I just couldn't stand to see a pup with that potential sitting in a kennel, thinking that one day he may get a chance to hunt it. I couldn't stand that. Maybe a little bit of a sour taste at the time in young man's mouth. We're good buddies again now, but I couldn't leave him there.
Yep. Now I understand. And actually, I was just talking to a guy the other day, and we were talking about, breeding dogs, and he said, I will never raise another litter. And I was like, why is that? And that is exactly why. He goes, it's not selling puppies. He goes, it's putting them in the hands of hunters. And he goes, it makes me sick to not be able to get pups into the hands of people that are going to hunt them. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
And he goes, and that's the hardest part. And he goes, and that's why he goes, I'm not a breeder because it drives me insane.
And with all that being said, I was out of the squirrel pup thing because I work delivering propane now.
Mm-hmm.
And propane is exactly the wrong job to have when you got squirrel dogs.
Yeah.
Because when the propane business gets stupid busy, that's when the squirrel hunt is good.
Yep.
But if you've kept up with squirrel dogs at all, there was a breeder of West Siberian lackeys named Eddie Hicks up in Arkansas. Had a great line of West Siberian lackeys, and he had a female named Roxy that was a black West Siberian lackey.
Mm-hmm.
Black West Siberian lackeys are kind of frowned on.
Why is that?
Well, I hear that they call them in Russia.
Okay.
That they don't even keep them in. In my mind, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they look like a bear. I don't know. In Indiana, there's a young man named Jake McDonald that has a black male named Vader.
Okay.
And Vader's a bigger West Siberian lackey, long-legged, and just, a super, super nice dog. A mutual friend of ours was Darren Petty in Indiana.
Yep.
So Eddie and Darren got the idea that they would bring Roxy to Indiana with Darren. Darren does a lot of squirrel hunting, a lot of coon hunting.
Yep.
And all. And when she come in season, they'd breed her to that black Vader dog.
Okay.
So she come in season and they bred it, and they three got together, and I got a message out of the blue. I kept up with these guys on social media, but I never had a word with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Darren messaged me. He's like, we've bred Vader and Roxy. Would you take one of these puppies when they're born? This was like in June or July.
Okay.
And I'm not ready to buy another puppy and yada, yada, yada. He said, we're not talking about you buying another puppy. We want you to take one of these puppies to West Virginia, do what you do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to follow it to see if we want to make this cross again.
Yeah.
Well, how could I say no?
Yeah.
So I said, yeah. Well, then my bride, I've got the best wife in the world. I go on these hunts and go on these adventures and stuff like that, and they never texting, phone calls, where you been, when you're coming home. She's just super. But she was pretty adamant about no on this pup. So I'm like, well, I've done committed to taking it. And those guys went through all this to ask me to take it. I'm going to take it. But I tell you what, I'll get with Earl and we'll make arrangements to keep it at Earl's kennel.
Yeah.
So that kind of smoothed things out a little bit. So they was born, and I picked it out. And meanwhile, Eddie Hicks and his bride was on vacation out west, and he passed away suddenly while on vacation. So he never did get to see the deal completed. But on October 19th, I drove to up near Indianapolis, Indiana, and met Darren and got this puppy, Blackjack.
Yep.
8 weeks old, just a little tiny thing. Even coming down the road, that's a 8-hour drive from here. I drove 4 hours, stopped in a rest area, got out, got Blackjack out of the truck. He walked over in the weeds and peed and done his other business. And I put him back in the truck and drove another 4 hours. And when he got out of the truck, then he done his business again. Never got sick in the truck, never made a mess in the truck, behaved well the whole time. Just like at 8 weeks old, he was just like an old dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's a good start.
Heck yeah,
so I get him home, and I put him in the kennel with Annie. Because she's good with puppies. And the next day, I've got him in the woods, 8 weeks old. The next day, I got him in the woods again. The next day, again, just as soon as I get home. Now, in the meanwhile, on August 17th, I tore a rotator cuff, which put me off work.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't a doorstop. I could still go to the woods.
Yeah.
So there again, God intervened. I hated to get hurt. I hated to miss work. But with a brand new puppy and me having all this time in the world and workers' comp giving me a paycheck,
yep.
then I took full advantage of it.
Oh, well, of course. Why wouldn't you?
I had a pup in the wood every day. Every other day was with all my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then alternate days was him by himself.
There you go.
Which, like I said, from then till now has amounted to somewhere between 400 and 500 hours.
Stone Creek Hound Supply, a family-operated business, boasts over 50 years of involvement in hounds. For over 2 decades, they've been dedicated to supplying high-quality hound gear. Their reputation is founded on unparalleled quality and exceptional customer service. Crafted from U.S. source materials, Stone Creek clothing is meticulously manufactured right here in Pennsylvania. Through their commitment to excellence, many of their customers have become lifelong friends.
At 14 weeks old, I had killed a squirrel the day before, and still had it, and I had him in the truck by himself up in National Forest. I stopped alongside the road, got the squirrel out, made a drive down through the woods, probably 50 yards, and then off to the left another 50 yards, and I hung it up and come back and got him out of the truck. He ran around the truck just a little bit and hit that track, and he shot off down through the woods. And he got to that place where I'd made the left-hand turn, and he ran right past it. Well, he come back to where he'd smelled the track, went out through there, got on the tree and started barking at the squirrel. 14 weeks old.
That's impressive.
I'm like, I think I got something here. So then I got to hunting them even more by himself. I'd take them all out, and I'd take 3 of them back home, and I'd take him out that afternoon. And the alternate day, I'd take him out by himself. And about 4.5 months old, he was treeing squirrels, and I was killing them.
Nice.
I got him October 19th. Squirrel season went out February 28th. I killed 18 squirrels that he treed by himself. And he was just 6 months old at that point. Now he's 9 months old. He's treated somewhere between 75 and 90 squirrels that I've seen.
Yeah.
So he's just really doing good. He got a lot bigger than I thought he was going to be. I mean, you don't have to bend down to pet him. You just reach down and you can pet him, and if he jumps up on you, his head's even as your head.
Yeah.
He's a big dog.
He's a big boy, especially by comparison to your other 3.
Oh, yeah, he's by far the biggest one I got. But he was getting up about 6 months old or whatever, I guess. And my bride said, well, if he's going to stay down here, I guess you better build him a doghouse. So that's her. And he's got her space back.
Yeah.
So I built him a kennel and a doghouse and all this and that. Kind of funny. He's 9 months old. He's been at the house for 7 months. And my wife calls Hammer, Hammer, and Rowdy, Rowdy, and Annie, Annie. She is yet to this day to call Black Black or Jack. He's that dog.
That's funny.
That dog is barking. That dog is this. That dog's chewing up his food dish. He's that dog. He's never gotten a name from her. But been really, really blessed with those dogs. The most expensive dog I ever bought was Trent, Tennessee, Bruno, Tennessee. And Pepper and I worked her hard for 8 months. She never treed. She had very little interest. She is the most expensive puppy I ever bought.
Yeah.
And I finally gifted her to my daughter, who had recently lost her dog at 8 months old. And my daughter had researched the breed, Trent, Tennessee, Bruno, and said, oh, we can't have her in the townhouse. They bark all the time and this and that. They don't like cats. The first day that she had her up there, she sent me a picture of Pepper laying between the 2 cats at the patio thing, and said she barked one time in like 6 months. She goes camping with them. She rides a kayak with them. She rides in the Jeep with them. She's a great adventure dog. She just didn't have what it took to be any dog would. And yet to this day, she's 6 years old now, and she's still no interest in squirrel. She'll chase a rabbit if she sees it, but she just, she's just a dud.
Yep.
But my other 4, all of them had me killing wild squirrels, 5 months old, 6 months old, through that, and never stopped doing it. They all handle good. They all listen good. To another, like I said, I know for sure there's, that as far as squirrel dogs go in these competitions, that, none of mine ever be a go-to or be the dogs that Marty Munn got, or Wade Hildebrand got, or Gary got, or even Chuck Loudon and those guys. But for what I do with them, which is entertaining other people
Mm-hmm.
and pleasure hunting in these mountains and being able to call them to me and having the confidence when I go to the tree that there's either going to be a squirrel there or it's going to be a hole or a big nest,
Yep.
knowing they're not going to gamble through that. And I hunt 90% of my time on national forest.
Mm-hmm.
So I get intimidated sometimes when I see these pictures on Facebook and there's a full tailgate of squirrels, 25, 30 squirrels on there. It's and that. And I've just got to back up and look at the pictures from the Squirrel Master, when we had squirrels like that piled up.
Yep.
With my two dogs, in a 4-hour hunt. I know they can do it. There's a guy up in Lewis County that's got a squirrel dog and this and that, and he wasn't doing many squirrels, and he invited me up, and I went, well, yeah, all right. So I drove to Lewis County, and I took my 4 dogs, and we got on his side by side and made a 2-hour hunt. The dogs treed 19 times, and we've seen 12 squirrels.
That's pretty good.
So I'm like, in my head, I know if I got these dogs, some of these places in Kentucky and this and that I'm seeing these big tailgates, and by what they done at the Classic, I know my dogs are capable of it. Yep. It's just, I hunt national forest 90% of the time, and if we go out and make 8 trees in a day, 9 trees in a day, that's a really, really good day in national forest.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So then I just have to keep myself in check that, we don't feel big tailgates. And then with me, I mean, I really don't eat squirrels. So if we see 8 squirrels, I might shoot one out that they done a really, really good job on.
Yep.
After that, my dogs don't care whether you shoot them or not. You just pat them on the head and tell them good job, and they're happy and gone again.
Yep. Nah, that's awesome. You've had one heck of a run, that's for sure, with these 4 dogs, and I think it's pretty cool. And I really like what you're doing now with the, getting the youth involved and the veterans and kind of trying to get more people involved in the squirrel dogs. I think we need more guys doing that. The competition hunts are fun. I enjoy them. I know a lot of guys do, but that doesn't necessarily get more people involved in it and doesn't preserve this way of life. So, you can do both, but you got to make sure you're recruiting, the next generation to come in and follow behind us, whether that's, like you said, some young adults in their 20s or some teenagers and kids that are coming on and getting them interested. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, believe me, just like everybody else, on Sundays, I'm glued to that laptop watching these live hunts that they're doing for $100,000 or a new truck or a new side-by-side. And, they got all these super squirrel dogs this and that. I mean, I'm just glued to it. My wife's, let's go eat, let's go. I'm like, you go ahead. I'm busy. Other than that, I love that stuff. And likely, if I was 40 years old and 180 pounds instead of 60 years old and 270 pounds, I may be out there chasing some of that same caliber of dog.
Yeah.
But I know my limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was some talk about someone said, well, you're going back to Squirrel Master Classic? And I've got to tell you, quite frankly, that was the most physical, demanding thing that I've done for years.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very physical to go out there and be able to run through them swamps and go at the pace that those guys are going.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not sure that I'd have went the first time if I knew how physical it was.
Yeah.
Just know my limitations, and by having my dogs all at 8 weeks old and having every minute, every mile in them, not sending them no training pins, not having nobody train them, not buying a finished dog, not buying a 2-year-old that's almost finished, this and that, being able to form and shape my dogs to hunt the way that I hunt at my pace, then that's just been able to let me keep this fun and pleasure in it that I wouldn't be able to do. The dogs that some of these guys have got are super dogs, but I couldn't even feed them. I mean, I'd take them out one time, and they get out there 1,000 yards, and I'd be like, man, I'm done. We're going to the house.
No, I'm not old. I'm only 34, but I'm right there with you. Some of the dogs these guys have, the style they have, I don't find it enjoyable. So I'm right there with you. I'd prefer a dog that hunts with me and to have a good time. So I think that the competition hunting is exciting. I understand what it takes to win a lot at the high level, but at the end of the day, when I go to the woods with my own dog, I find it a lot more enjoyable, to just walk through and tree game as you come to it, not blow past it, and not have to go deep, and not have to, walk 3/4 of a mile to go find a dog treat on a squirrel.
Well, that's me. I've got a good friend, and I'm old that his name doesn't even come to mind. He lives up next out of Beryl, West Virginia, and he has a dog called Wild Man and something else. And used to have a real good dog named Trapper. He's a young coal miner, in great shape, and this and that. And his theory is, no matter where them dogs tree, you got to go to them. You can't leave them. You got to go to them dogs. And I'm like, man, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's straight up over that mountainside, this or that, you're welcome to go. I'll wait down here in the bottom.
Yeah.
And when you get ready to go, if my dog's tree do with you, bring her with you. And if not, I'll call her back.
Yep.
I respect those guys. And I mean, kudos to them, but I just know my limitations, and I don't have fun doing that.
I completely understand.
So anyway, I probably about used up all your time talking about my misfit dogs. I know they're nothing but misfits. They're like that. They're oddballs. There's not many Tennessee Brennels, and in this part of the country, there's not many West Siberian Rockies. And I heard rumors that my blackjack maybe has a little shot of border collie in him there somewhere, about 10% or something like that. But
okay.
If he does, he does. I don't care. Do that. Mm-hmm. All my dogs are misfits.
Nah, I think you got a pretty cool little pack of dogs, and like I said, I like something a little different too. So, but I appreciate you coming on and telling me about them, and like I said, talking about how you get all the people involved and all the stuff you do. If people have questions about different events, how can they get in touch with you?
I'm the only Ronnie Snedegar on Facebook, as far as I know. That is a last name spelled Snedegar through that. And then you contact me on Messenger there, or Facebook. I'm always happy to reply.
And you're very active. I've had fun watching you. And you post in a lot of different groups, and you after a successful hunt, and then you're that's how I know about. I've kind of kept up with a lot of your dogs, and just through you posting a lot about them.
Well, I even post sometimes when we've not had a very successful hunt, but
that's all right. That's just
I
important.
treed one squirrel today. Just through that, I took him out today and worked a shift, and then took him out. Before I done this, he just treed one, but we had a good time sitting on the log and him playing in the creek. So yeah, so we're not always successful, but we have a good time.
Yeah.
And any of you guys that's listening on this, whatever this and that, you got a standing invitation to come to Greenbrier County and try this national forest. I'll get you up in there and give you good directions of how to go through that. We've got 1.91 million acres of national forest. Starts about 10 minutes from my house. So.
Yep, you got a bunch of it, that's for sure. So, well, I really do appreciate it, Ronnie. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.